The metallic groan of Nexus Station's outer hull announced another temperature drop as Elian Mercer pulled his threadbare jacket tighter around his shoulders. 7 cycles since the mining corporation had declared bankruptcy, leaving hundreds like him stranded on this deteriorating space outpost orbiting the gas giant. Terrace Neen. Station-wide power conservation in effect. The automated announcement echoed through the dingy maintenance corridor. Non-essential heating will be reduced by 60% for the next 12 hours. Len cursed under his breath, watching it form a small cloud in the increasingly frigid air. His temporary quarters in the communal barracks would be unbearable tonight. He needed somewhere else to sleep, somewhere the station's security wouldn't chase him away. The abandoned cargo bay in Sector 17 had been his fallback shelter for the past month. It wasn't comfortable, but the insulation was better than most places available to those the station had forgotten. As he made his way through the labyrinth of service tunnels, the emergency lights flickered ominously. Perfect timing, he muttered, activating the small light on his wristband, the last possession of value he hadn't been forced to trade for food. The cargo bay door was partially jammed as usual. Elian pushed it open just enough to slip through, expecting the familiar emptiness of the space. Instead, his light caught a shimmer of movement in the far corner. "Hello?" he called cautiously. "I'm not security. Just looking for shelter." When no response came, he approached slowly. His light revealed what appeared to be a body but not human. The figure was slender, with skin that seemed to pulse with a faint violet luminescence. Dark fluid pooled beneath her, and her breathing came in shallow, labored gasps. Ilian knelt beside her. The alien had humanoid features, a face with delicate features. Arms extended from slender shoulders, but her skin was a pale purple that seemed to glow from within. Her eyes, when they fluttered open briefly, contained swirling galaxies of silver. "You're hurt," he said, unnecessarily, knowing she might not understand him. "Let me help you." The station had its share of alien visitors, but he'd never seen one like her before. She wore what appeared to be a damaged environmental suit of complex design, torn open across her midsection where the dark fluid, presumably blood, seeped out. Without hesitation, Elian removed his jacket and pressed it against her wound. The cold immediately bit into him, but he ignored it. The alien's eyes opened again, focusing on him with obvious confusion. "I'm Elian," he said slowly, tapping his chest. "You're safe. I'll help you." The alien weakly raised her hand, her fingers trembling as they reached toward him. When they touched his arm, Elian felt a strange warmth spread through him. Despite the freezing temperature, "Lyravex," she whispered, the words somehow forming in his mind rather than in his ears. Elian nodded. "Lyravex. I'm going to move you somewhere safer, okay? Security patrols this sector every few hours." As he carefully gathered her into his arms, feeling how surprisingly light she was, the station's lights failed completely, plunging them into darkness except for his wristband light. In that moment, Lyravex's skin brightened, casting a gentle purple glow around them. "Conserve strength," Elian advised, hurrying toward a maintenance closet he knew contained emergency supplies. "I don't know who you are or what happened to you, but I promised you're not alone anymore." The maintenance closet wasn't much, but it offered what they needed most: privacy and warmth. Elian had managed to activate the emergency heating unit, creating a small pocket of livable temperature amid the station-wide freeze. 3 days had passed since he'd found Lyravex, and her condition had gradually improved. "The fluid in this container, it helps?" Elian asked, holding up a small vial with swirling silver liquid that he'd found in a compartment of her damaged suit. Lyravex nodded weakly. She sat propped against the wall, her violet skin pulsing with a stronger glow than before. "Healing catalyst," she explained, her words forming in Elian's mind rather than through sound. One more application should be sufficient. Their communication had been difficult at first, but they'd developed a rhythm. Whatever telepathic ability allowed her to project thoughts into his mind seemed to strengthen as her health improved. Elian had learned she was a scientific emissary from the Zin3 Collective, a species that rarely interacted with other civilizations due to their unique biological nature. Your ship? Elian asked as he carefully applied the silver liquid to the wound that now showed signs of closing. Ambushed, she replied, her eyes darkening momentarily. I was investigating the unusual energy signatures emanating from this station. Resource raiders intercepted my shuttle. They believed I carried valuable technology. Elian nodded. The station's deteriorating condition had attracted predators of all kinds, those who scavenged dying outposts for anything of value. He'd lost 2 friends to such raiders in recent months. And your people? Will they come looking for you? A ripple of concern passed across her features. Eventually, the Zinthuri are patient but thorough. My mission had a 20-cycle window before they would initiate recovery protocols. Elian tried not to think about what recovery protocols might entail. He'd heard rumors about the Zinthuri mysterious. It's advanced civilization that possessed technology bordering on the mystical. Some said they could reshape matter with thought alone. Why are you helping me, Elian Mercer? Lyravex asked suddenly, her galaxy-filled eyes studying him with unmistakable curiosity. He shrugged, suddenly self-conscious. Does anyone need a reason to help someone who's hurt? In my experience, yes. Oh. A soft luminescence pulsed from her skin, almost like a gentle laugh. Most species operate on calculated exchange. You've given up your shelter, used your resources, risked detection. The typical biological imperative would be self-preservation. Maybe I'm not typical, Elian said, allowing himself a small smile. He hadn't had much reason to smile since the corporation abandoned them. Or maybe I just know what it's like to be alone and hurt with nobody willing to help. Lyravex was quiet for a moment, then slowly extended her hand toward him. Elian hesitated, then placed his palm against hers. The sensation was immediate, a warm current that seemed to flow between them, carrying emotions rather than thoughts. Gratitude, curiosity, and something deeper he couldn't quite identify. Your species fascinates me, she said finally, her fingers interlacing with his in a gesture that felt strangely intimate. So much potential buried beneath your struggles. Your minds burn so brightly, even when your circumstances are darkest. The station alert system suddenly blared to life, causing them both to tense. Tension all sectors. Security sweep commencing in quadrants 15 through 18. All personnel must present valid identification. Unauthorized occupants will be detained and processed. Elian quickly gathered their few supplies. We need to move. They're getting closer to this section. Lyravex attempted to stand, but faltered. Without hesitation, Elian wrapped his arm around her waist, supporting her weight against him. The contact intensified the strange connection between them, and for a moment, he could almost see his own face through her eyes, tired, determined, kinder than he'd imagined himself to be. I know somewhere deeper in the station, he said quietly. It's farther from the temperature regulators, but security never checks there. Can you make it? Lyravex's skin brightened with resolve. With you? Yes. Their new hiding place was a forgotten hydroponics bay, abandoned when the station's food production had been outsourced years ago. Somehow, a few stubborn plants still clung to life, creating a pocket of oxygen-rich air that smelled sweeter than anything else on Nexus Station. 2 more days had passed, and Lyravex could now stand and move independently, though her movements remained deliberate and careful. The wound had closed completely, leaving a faint silvery marking across her abdomen. Your people's healing abilities are remarkable, Elian observed, as he tinkered with an old atmospheric regulator, trying to coax more heat from it. The catalyst merely accelerates our natural processes, Lyravex explained. She sat cross-legged on a makeshift bed of storage padding, her violet skin casting enough light to illuminate their small sanctuary. What's truly remarkable is how you've survived in these conditions with such limited biological adaptations, Leanne laughed. Humans are stubborn that way. We're not the strongest or the most advanced, but we persist. Night cycles on the station had developed a comforting rhythm. Elian would scavenge for supplies during the day, returning with whatever food or useful items he could find. Evenings were spent in conversation, learning about each other's worlds in ways that transcended mere information exchange. Tell me about your home, Elian prompted, as he shared his meager rations with her. Though she required little conventional food, Lyravek's eyes turned wistful, the galaxy patterns within them shifting. The Zin-3 homeworld orbits a binary star system. Our cities are built into crystal formations that capture and amplify light. When both suns rise simultaneously, everyone becomes illuminated from within. She paused. Not unlike how I appear to you now, but magnified across an entire civilization. It sounds beautiful, Elian said softly, but also ... rigid. Predetermined. Her gaze met his. Each Zin-3's path is charted from emergence. My role as scientific emissary was assigned based on my particular frequency pattern. I've never questioned it until ... double quotes. Until meeting you? She moved closer to him, her natural luminescence intensifying. Your life has been disrupted, your path broken, yet you maintain this inner light, this capacity for kindness without calculation. The way she looked at him made Elian deeply aware of himself, the grime from station life, his worn clothing, his rough hands. Yet in her eyes he felt seen in a way he hadn't experienced since before the corporation abandoned them all. I think we've been taught wrong about what matters, he said, reaching out tentatively to touch her hand. The now familiar current flowed between them, stronger than before. Back on Earth, success meant accumulation, credits, property, status. Out here, at the edge of everything, all that matters is what we do for each other. Lyravek's fingers intertwined with his, her touch sending ripples of warmth up his arm. The Zin-3 believe connection is dangerous, that it compromises objectivity. We observe, we do not engage. Her voice in his mind grew softer. I'm breaking our highest protocol by forming this bond with you. Is that what this is? A bond? Elian asked, suddenly aware of how close they were sitting, how the air between them seemed charged with something beyond words. Instead of answering, Lyravex raised her free hand to his face, her fingers tracing the contour of his jawline. The sensation was electric, intimate, in a way that transcended physical touch. Through their connection, Elian sensed her curiosity, her fascination, and something else growing beneath a warmth that mirrored his own developing feelings. My people are searching for me, she whispered into his mind. I can sense their probes sweeping the station. They will find us soon. Leon felt a sudden pang of loss at the thought of her leaving. Will they? Will they take you away? The sadness in her galaxy eyes told him everything before her thoughts formed in his mind. Yes, but Elian Mercer, what has formed between us, this is unprecedented. I will not forget. The Zin-3 arrival wasn't announced by alarms or station-wide alerts. Instead, Elian woke to find 3 tall, luminous figures standing in their hydroponic sanctuary. Their violet skin glowing with such intensity that the entire chamber was bathed in purple light. Step away from the emissary, one commanded, the words materializing directly in Elian's mind with such force that he winced. Wait. Lyravex moved protectively in front of him, her own glow intensifying to match her kin. This human has preserved my existence. Without him, I would have been lost. The tallest Zin-3 approached, examining Elian with eyes that seemed to contain not just galaxies, but entire universes. Unlike Lyravex, whose expressions had become increasingly readable to Elian, this being's face remained impassive. You tended to one of the collective? The Zin-3 asked Elian directly. I helped someone who was hurt, Elian replied, straightening his posture despite his fear. I didn't know who she was. The 3 visitors exchanged looks, and Elian sensed a silent communication passing between them. Finally, the leader turned back to him. Before Elian could respond, slender purple fingers touched his temples. Images cascaded through his mind, finding Lyravex wounded, applying the healing catalyst. Sharing his meager food, their conversations, the growing connection between them, the warmth he felt in her presence. When the contact broke, Elian staggered backward, catching himself against the wall. The lead Zin-3's expression had changed subtly. Unprecedented, the being stated. You've sought no advantage, expected no reward. Risked detection, to preserve her. That's what people are supposed to do, Lian said simply. The three Zinthri conferred silently again, their skin pulsing with complex patterns. Finally, the leader produced a small crystal vial containing what appeared to be liquid starlight, a swirling silver-blue substance that seemed to bend the space around it. Celestial essence. Lyravex explained in Elian's mind, her thoughts tinged with awe. The condensed potential of creation itself? The leader stepped forward. Human, you have acted according to principles our kind has long forgotten. The collective acknowledges this debt, extended the vial. This essence responds to intention. A single drop can restructure matter, heal wounds beyond healing, create sustenance from emptiness. Elian looked at the vial with uncertainty. I didn't help Lyravex for a reward, which is precisely why you merit one, the leader replied. Those who seek power rarely deserve it. Those who help without expectation of return, these are beings who use power wisely. With trembling fingers, Elian accepted the vial. The moment it touched his skin, he felt a resonance within himself, as if the substance recognized something in him. We depart in one station cycle, the leader announced. Emissary Lyravex requires assessment and reintegration. The finality in those words made Elian's heart sink. He looked at Lyravex, whose expression mirrored his own sadness. May I have time to say goodbye? She asked her superior. The leader hesitated, then nodded almost imperceptibly. 1 hour. Then we returned to the collective. After the others departed to prepare their vessel, Lyravex turned to Elian, her galaxy eyes shimmering with emotion. The essence they've given you, it's beyond value, she said. It can transform your life here, create opportunities where none existed. Elian closed his fingers around the vial, but his gaze remained fixed on her. I'd trade it to have you stay longer. Her luminescence pulsed, with what he now recognized as affection. My assessment will take time. The collective will want to understand how this connection formed, why it happened, and then, Elian asked, hope threading through his voice. Lyravex placed her hand against his cheek, sharing not just thoughts, but pure emotion, longing, fascination, attachment. The Zinthri do not change easily, Elian Mercer, but neither do we ignore evidence that challenges our understanding. She leaned forward, pressing her forehead against his. The contact sent waves of sensation through him, a closeness more intimate than any physical embrace. Use the essence wisely, she whispered into his mind. Create the life you deserve. And know that what has begun between us, it resonates across distances. Even when we are apart, the frequency remains, as their hour together dwindled. Elian held her close, memorizing the pattern of her luminescence, the galaxy depths of her eyes, the unique resonance of her thoughts in his mind. When the other Zinthri returned, he forced himself to release her, watching as she joined her kin. Until our frequencies align again, she projected to him. Her final thought, lingering in his mind long after the purple glow of their departure had faded from the hydroponics bay. 6 months transformed Nexus Station and Elian's place within it. Using drops of the celestial essence with careful intention, he had revitalized portions of the abandoned hydroponic system, creating a thriving garden that now supplied fresh food to the station's forgotten residents. The remainder of the essence he'd used to repair critical systems, bringing heat and stability back to sections that had been abandoned to the cold. What had begun as survival had become a community. People who had once been competitors for scarce resources now worked together, inspired by Elian's unexpected generosity. Few knew the true source of the miraculous transformations, only that the quiet ex-dock worker had somehow found a way to create life from emptiness. Yet despite his success, despite the respect he'd earned and the difference he'd made, Elian often found himself staring out the viewport toward distant stars, wondering if somewhere among them, galaxy eyes were looking back. Communications systems online, announced the automated station voice, as Elian finished installing the newly repaired relay in what had become the community's central hub. Incoming transmission detected. Lian wiped his hands on his coveralls, now of much better quality than the threadbare ones he'd worn when he found Lyravex. Source? He asked, not expecting much, probably Just another corporate salvage team checking if the station was worth reclaiming. Unknown origin. Frequency pattern, non-standard. Non-standard frequencies were exactly what Lyravex had described as the Zinthari communication method. With fingers that suddenly trembled, he activated the receiver. No image appeared on the screen, but a familiar sensation touched his mind. Gentle, questioning, hopeful. Elian Mercer. Your thoughts still resonate. He gripped the console, overwhelmed by emotion. Lyravex? Is it really you? A warm affirmation flowed through their connection. The collective has been ... processing. My experience, studying the data, analyzing the unprecedented bond that formed, and Elian asked, hardly daring to breathe. And they have reached a conclusion that I find most satisfactory. Mental touch grew stronger, more present. The observation protocols that have guided our civilization for millennia are being ... reconsidered. The evidence suggests that connection does not compromise objectivity, but rather enhances understanding. Hope surged through Elian. What does that mean for us? It means, Elian Mercer, that you should look to the South Docking Bay in approximately 17 minutes. The time passed both instantly and eternally. Ilion raced through the corridors, his heart pounding, drawing curious stares from station residents as he passed. The South Docking Bay had been decommissioned months ago or so, everyone believed. As he arrived, breathless, the bay doors were already cycling open. A small vessel, unlike any human craft, glided silently into the dock, its hull shifting with patterns of light that mirrored the luminescence of its pilot. When the hatch opened, Lyravex emerged, her violet skin glowing with such brilliance that Elian had to shield his eyes momentarily. When his vision adjusted, he saw that she wore no environmental suit this time, but rather flowing garments that seemed woven from starlight itself. You came back, he whispered, frozen in place by disbelief and joy. She approached him with graceful steps, her galaxy eyes fixed on his. The collective has appointed me as permanent liaison to human space. I am to establish diplomatic relations, cultural exchange, scientific collaboration. Wonderful news, Elian said, trying to contain his emotion. A smile played across her lips, a gesture she had learned from him during their time together. Official duties aside, I requested this specific assignment for personal reasons. When she reached him, she took both his hands in hers. The familiar current flowed between them instantly, stronger than ever before, carrying not just thoughts and emotions, but possibilities, futures they might build together. The essence I gave you, she said, glancing around at the transformed station. You used it not just for yourself, but for everyone. Elian shrugged, suddenly shy under her gaze. It felt right. I remembered what I told you about what matters out here at the edge. Lyravex's luminescence pulsed with pride, and another emotion Elian now recognized clearly: love. Transcending species and space, the collective believes our civilizations have much to learn from each other, she said aloud, her actual voice melodic and ethereal. She had learned to speak his language, but I believe we have much to learn from each other as well. She leaned forward, and in a gesture that bridged their worlds, pressed her lips gently against his. The kiss deepened their connection to something Ilion felt in his very atoms, a resonance that had begun with a simple act of kindness in the cold darkness and now blossomed into something the universe had never seen before. When they finally parted, both glowing with shared energy, Ilion smiled. So what happens now? Lyravex's eyes sparkled with infinite possibilities. Now we write our own frequencies. Elian Mercer. Together, above them, through the bay's viewport, distant stars shimmered, witnesses to a connection that had begun with compassion and grown into something that would ripple across galaxies, challenging the assumptions of two civilizations and opening doors between worlds that had once believed themselves complete in isolation. In the coldest reaches of space, the warmest of bonds had formed a proof that across any distance, through any darkness, hearts could find each other and create their own light.